The first warning came from the sky. At 4:17 Universal Time Coordinated, every satellite above Earth went blind. Not destroyed. Not hacked. Blind. 1 second, humanity could see the stars. The next, the entire sky became a wall of darkness. Then thousands of ships appeared. They were enormous, black, angular vessels stretching across the horizon like mountains suspended in space. Their weapons formed a glowing ring around Earth, locking the planet inside a cage of red light. For 300 years, humanity had been told this day would never come. Now it had. Across every surviving city, people stood beneath the darkened sky, staring upward. A transmission suddenly reached every screen on Earth. The face of Supreme Marshal Cale Vorn appeared. His alien features were cold and expressionless, his eyes reflecting the burning planet below. "Humanity," he said, "your species was defeated 3 centuries ago. We allowed you to live because we believed you had learned your place." Behind him, thousands of alien warships moved into formation. "You have 1 hour to surrender." Silence followed. No human government answered. No military commander spoke. Then Cale smiled. "Then Earth will become your grave." Deep beneath the ruins of New Geneva, something began to shake. Commander Elias Ward felt it through the floor. He was standing inside a forgotten underground military facility that hadn't appeared on any modern map. Dust fell from the ceiling. Ancient warning lights flickered red. Elias looked at the old control console in front of him. "Tell me again," he whispered, "why was this facility sealed?" The old archivist beside him swallowed hard. "Because nobody was supposed to find it." Another tremor struck. A massive metal door appeared behind them. It had no handle. No visible mechanism. Only one symbol was carved into its surface. A human eagle surrounded by 8 stars. Elias had seen that symbol only once, in a classified historical document describing humanity's final days in the First Galactic War. His eyes widened. No. The archivist stepped backward. That ship was destroyed. Elias stared at the door. If it was destroyed. The lights suddenly turned on. A deep mechanical sound rolled through the chamber. Then why is something waking up? Above Earth, Cale Vorn's fleet began charging its planetary weapons. 10,000 alien cannons aimed at the surface. The countdown appeared on every human screen. 59:59. 59:58. 59:57. Elias placed his hand against the ancient console. A single message appeared. Authorization required. He hesitated. Then another tremor shook the facility. From behind the sealed door came a sound nobody had heard for 300 years. The slow ignition of an engine. Elias looked at the archivist. There isn't another defense. His finger pressed the activation key. Authorization accepted. Deep beneath Earth, something enormous opened its eyes. And in orbit, the alien fleet suddenly received a warning from its sensors. Unknown human warship detected. Cale Vorn stared at the message. Then his confidence disappeared. Because he recognized the ship's designation. UNS Eternity's Aegis. The warship that history said had been destroyed. The warship that had once made an entire alien empire run from humanity. And now. It was awake. The alien fleet stopped laughing. For 300 years, Eternity's Aegis had existed only in forbidden historical records, a legendary human warship supposedly destroyed during humanity's final battle. Yet every sensor aboard Cale Vorn's flagship was reporting the same impossible message. Unknown human warship, active. Cale stared at the holographic image. Far below, Earth's atmosphere split with a blinding flash. Something enormous climbed through the clouds. At first, the alien commanders thought it was a mountain. Then they realized that the mountain was moving. A colossal black warship emerged from Earth, its hull scarred by ancient battles. Massive armored plates covered its surface, while thousands of dormant lights slowly awakened across its body. The ship was so large that smaller human cities could have fit across its hull. Cale immediately gave the order. Destroy it. 500 Varkon warships turned toward the ancient vessel. Their cannons charged. Elias Ward watched from the command chamber of the Aegis. He expected alarms. He expected weapons to activate. Instead, the ship remained completely silent. Why aren't the defenses coming online? Elias demanded. The ancient AI answered calmly. They are not required. Elias frowned. What does that mean? The alien fleet fired. 500 beams of destructive energy crossed space and struck the human warship simultaneously. Earth's atmosphere shook from the impact. For several seconds, Eternity's Aegis disappeared inside a sphere of fire. Kale smiled. Finally. Then the fire vanished. The warship was still there. Its hull hadn't even moved. The alien bridge fell silent. Kale ordered his technicians to check the sensors. One officer whispered, "Marshal, the ship has no shields." Kale turned toward him. "What? No shields? No damage? Nothing?" Inside the Aegis, Elias stared at the tactical display. Something strange was happening. The ship wasn't blocking the alien weapons. It was studying them. Every weapon signature was being analyzed. Every frequency. Every energy pattern. Every targeting protocol. The AI spoke again. Enemy technology successfully recorded. Elias slowly understood. "You're learning their weapons." "Correct." Suddenly, the Aegis disappeared. No explosion. No hyperspace trail. It simply vanished. Kale's entire fleet began searching. Where did it go? A sensor operator suddenly screamed. "Behind us." The massive human warship had reappeared directly behind the Varkon fleet. Thousands of alien ships scrambled to turn. Too late. Their engines shut down. Their weapons went offline. Their communication systems collapsed. Kale stared at his dead command screens in disbelief. How did one ship do this? Then the Aegis transmitted a message across every Varkon vessel. "Your technology is impressive." A pause. "Thank you for giving us access." Elias looked toward the main viewport. But before he could celebrate, the ship's AI displayed another warning. Ancient archive accessed. A forgotten recording began playing. A human admiral appeared on the screen. His face was covered in blood. Behind him, Earth was burning. He looked directly into the camera. If the Aegis is awake, then humanity has made the same mistake again. The recording ended. Elias stared at the empty screen. Then the AI quietly added, "Commander, they are not here to destroy Earth." Elias turned. "Then why are they here?" The Aegis answered. "They came for what is buried beneath it." "They came for what is buried beneath it." Elias Ward stared at the words glowing across the command screen. Outside the viewport, thousands of Varkon warships remained frozen in space, their weapons disabled by the ancient human vessel. But the alien fleet wasn't retreating. Instead, hundreds of smaller ships were descending toward Earth. Elias zoomed in. They weren't attack craft. They were drilling vessels. What are they searching for? The Aegis remained silent for several seconds. Then the ship displayed an image of Earth. A red point appeared beneath the surface. Depth, 41.7 kilometers. Elias felt his stomach tighten. That location. He recognized it. It was directly beneath New Geneva, the same ruined city where the Aegis had been discovered. What's down there? The AI finally answered. Something humanity was ordered to forget. Before Elias could ask another question, the entire chamber shook. Not from an attack. Something beneath Earth had moved. Every screen flickered. The ancient symbols covering the Aegis suddenly illuminated. Across the planet, abandoned structures began powering on. Old satellites rose from underground bunkers. Dead military bases opened their sealed doors. Thousands of forgotten machines awakened simultaneously. Elias stepped toward the viewport. What did we just activate? The AI answered. The Planetary Defense Network. Elias looked confused. We don't have a planetary defense network. You do. A holographic map appeared. Then Elias saw hundreds of hidden installations scattered across Earth. Some were beneath oceans. Some were inside mountains. Others were buried under cities. Humanity had spent 3 centuries believing Earth was defenseless. It wasn't. Someone had simply made sure nobody knew the truth. Then the Varkon drilling fleet reached its target. The ground beneath New Geneva exploded. A massive circular structure rose from beneath the Earth's crust. It looked like a gigantic metal door. The alien drill locked onto it. Kale Vorn appeared on every remaining human screen. You finally understand, he said. Elias watched him carefully. You didn't come here for Earth. Kale smiled. No. He leaned toward the camera. We came for the thing your ancestors were terrified to use. The transmission ended. Elias turned toward the Aegis AI. What is behind that door? For the first time, the machine's voice changed. There was something almost like fear in it. The reason humanity surrendered. Elias froze. The ancient admiral's recording suddenly replayed in his mind. If the Aegis is awake, then humanity has made the same mistake again. A deep vibration traveled through the ship. The massive door beneath New Geneva began opening. Slowly. Thousands of alien ships surrounded it. Then a beam of white light erupted from the underground chamber and reached space. Every alien sensor instantly overloaded. Kael'Vorn stared at the impossible reading. What is that? His scientist looked at the screen. His hands began shaking. Marshal, that's not a weapon. Kael turned. Then what is it? The scientist whispered. It's a signal. Far beyond the solar system, something answered. And for the first time, the Varkon commander looked genuinely afraid. The signal reached the edge of the galaxy in less than 3 seconds. Then something answered. A deep pulse traveled through space and passed through every Varkon warship surrounding Earth. For one terrifying moment, every alien vessel lost power. Engines died. Weapons shut down. Even artificial gravity disappeared. Inside the Varkon flagship, Kael'Vorn grabbed the edge of his command console as his ship drifted helplessly through darkness. What did we wake? He demanded. Nobody answered. Then the main screen activated by itself. A symbol appeared. Not Varkon. Not human. It was a symbol Kael had never seen before. But one of his oldest officers recognized it. His face went pale. The architects. Kael slowly turned. They're a myth. The officer shook his head. No, Marshal. They are the reason the myth exists. Meanwhile, beneath Earth, the enormous underground door continued opening. Elias Ward watched through the Aegis's cameras as something enormous became visible inside the chamber. It wasn't another ship. It was a machine. A structure so large that its outer walls disappeared beyond the horizon of the underground cavern. The Aegis AI identified it as Project Dawn. Elias stared at the designation. What does it do? The AI didn't answer. Tell me. Silence. Elias stepped closer to the console. What did humanity build down there? Finally, the AI responded. A weapon capable of ending the war before it begins. Elias's eyes widened. Then activate it. I cannot. Why? Because Project Dawn was never designed to destroy the enemy. A pause. It was designed to destroy humanity's ability to become the enemy. Elias didn't understand. Then the ancient archives opened. Images flooded the command room. Humanity's first encounter with the Varkans. The First Galactic War. Human colonies burning. Millions of humans evacuating Earth. But then the recordings changed. Human scientists discovered something beyond the Varkon Empire. A civilization manipulating the war from the shadows. The architects. They had supplied weapons to both sides. They had prolonged the conflict. And when humanity discovered the truth, the architects gave Earth an ultimatum. Forget what you know, or be erased. Humanity chose silence. It dismantled its fleets. Buried its technology. And hid Project Dawn beneath Earth. But there was one problem. The architects had finally detected the signal. Outside the solar system, millions of unknown ships began emerging from hyperspace. The Aegis's sensors struggled to count them. Elias looked at the growing fleet. How many? The AI answered. Too many to defeat. Then every human ship around Earth received the same transmission. A calm alien voice spoke. Humanity. You were supposed to remain asleep. Elias clenched his fists. The voice continued. Now we will make certain you never wake again. Across the battlefield, the alien fleet charged its weapons. Then the Aegis's ancient engines roared. Elias looked at the tactical display. The ship had finally selected a target. Not the fleet. Not Earth. Something much farther away. The architect's homeworld. The Aegis turned away from Earth. Elias Ward stared at the tactical display in disbelief. Millions of enemy ships surrounded the planet, yet the ancient warship wasn't targeting any of them. Its targeting system had locked onto a distant point beyond the galaxy. The architect's homeworld. That's impossible, Elias whispered. The AI remained silent. There's an enemy fleet between us and that world. Millions of ships. Correct. And you're telling me we're going through them? No. The ship's engines began charging. We are going around them. Suddenly, space folded. The Aegis vanished. The architects reacted instantly. Their massive fleet spread across the solar system, searching for the human vessel. But they couldn't find it. Inside the Aegis, Elias watched unfamiliar stars appear outside the viewport. They weren't traveling through normal hyperspace. The ship was moving through a hidden layer of space that even the architects didn't know existed. How can this ship do this? The AI answered. Humanity built the Aegis when your enemy still believed space had only 3 dimensions. Elias almost smiled. Then an alarm interrupted him. Contact. A gigantic structure appeared ahead. It wasn't a planet. It wasn't a station. It was an artificial world. Millions of kilometers wide, covered in glowing cities and surrounded by rings of energy. The architect's homeworld. Elias looked at it. We made it. The AI corrected him. We arrived. Before Elias could respond, thousands of defensive ships appeared. The architects had anticipated them. Their weapons opened fire. The Aegis twisted through the barrage, moving between enormous energy beams with impossible precision. But the ship wasn't attacking. It was scanning. Elias finally understood. You're looking for something. Yes. What? The AI displayed a map of the artificial planet. A single red point appeared deep inside its core. The control source. Elias realized the truth. The architects didn't personally control every alien empire. They controlled the galaxy through a single command network. Destroy it, and their entire empire would collapse. But reaching it seemed impossible. The artificial planet was protected by a planetary shield. Millions of defensive drones surrounded the core. Then Elias noticed something strange. The shield wasn't powered by the planet. It was powered by the architect's fleet. Every ship was connected to it. A dangerous idea formed in his mind. Can we turn their fleet against the shield? The AI paused. Yes. Then do it. The Aegis transmitted a false human distress signal. The architects detected it immediately. Their fleet moved closer, believing the human ship was damaged. One by one, their vessels connected to the planetary defense network. Exactly as Elias expected. He waited. Then gave the order. Now. The Aegis activated the stolen Varkon technology. The entire defense network reversed. Millions of enemy ships suddenly began feeding power directly into the Aegis. Its engines reached levels never seen before. The artificial planet began shaking. Deep inside the architect homeworld, something ancient awakened. Then a message appeared on Elias's screen. Humanity has been located. Elias looked up. A colossal weapon emerged from the planet's core. The AI spoke quietly. Commander, that weapon was built from human technology. And Elias realized the architects had stolen something from Earth long before humanity ever knew it existed. The weapon rose from the architect homeworld like a second sun. Its enormous metallic rings unfolded around the planet, gathering energy from millions of connected ships. Elias Ward stared at the display. That technology. He could barely finish the sentence. The Aegis AI answered for him. Human origin confirmed. For the first time, Elias understood why the architects had feared humanity for so long. They hadn't simply studied human technology. They had stolen it. The weapon was built around the same principles as Project Dawn, the technology humanity had buried beneath Earth. But the architects had removed one critical limitation. Humanity had designed Dawn to prevent planetary destruction. The architects had redesigned it to destroy entire star systems. A warning appeared. Target, Earth. Elias froze. They're going to fire at Earth. Correct. How long? 9 minutes. Elias immediately opened communication with Earth's Surviving Defense Command. Get every civilian ship away from the planet. A voice answered through static. There aren't enough ships. Elias looked toward Earth. Millions of civilians remained trapped. The Aegis could return. But if it abandoned the architect homeworld, the enemy would reactivate the weapon. There was no winning move. Then Elias remembered the hidden chamber beneath Earth. Project Dawn. The ancient machine wasn't merely a weapon. It was a counter-network. If he could connect Dawn to the architect weapon, he might be able to reverse the entire system. But there was a problem. The connection had to be established from inside the enemy weapon. The Aegis would have to enter the weapon's core. Elias looked at the AI. What happens if we do that? A long silence followed. The Aegis will probably not survive. Elias nodded. Probably. There is a 3.7% probability of survival. Elias smiled faintly. Humanity has survived worse odds. The Aegis accelerated. Enemy ships swarmed around it. Millions of weapons fired. The ancient warship moved directly through the storm. Its hull began breaking apart. Warning lights flashed across the command room. Hull integrity, 61%. 47%. 29%. Elias held onto the command console. Keep going. The weapons core grew larger ahead. 10 kilometers. 5. 1. The Aegis entered. Everything went dark. Then Elias saw something impossible. Inside the weapons core were thousands of frozen images. Human cities. Human ships. Human faces. The architects hadn't just stolen Earth's technology. They had stolen human memories. They had used captured human minds to build their empire. Elias's expression hardened. Wake them. The AI understood. Releasing archived consciousness. Across the architect network, millions of hidden human voices suddenly awakened. The enemy system began collapsing. Then one final message appeared. Project Dawn connection established. Elias looked at the countdown. 0:31. The weapon was about to fire. He whispered. Let's show them what they should have feared. The countdown reached 0:10. But suddenly the architect fleet stopped attacking. Every enemy ship turned toward the Aegis. And a new message appeared. The human fleet has arrived. Elias looked through the viewport. The stars disappeared. Not because of darkness. But because millions of human warships had filled the sky. The stars vanished behind the human fleet. Millions of warships emerged from hyperspace, filling the darkness around the architect homeworld. Elias Ward stared at the impossible sight. For 300 years, the galaxy had believed humanity had only scattered defense vessels. But those ships were not new. They were ancient. Hidden. Waiting. Every vessel carried the same symbol, the 8 stars surrounding the human eagle. The architect commanders watched in silence. One finally whispered. How many ships? The answer came moments later. We cannot count them. Then every human warship activated its engines. The entire battlefield illuminated. But Elias wasn't celebrating. He was still trapped inside the architect weapon. The countdown continued. 0:08. The weapon was seconds away from firing at Earth. Can we stop it? Elias asked. The Aegis AI responded. Project Dawn is connected. That wasn't my question. A pause. Yes. Elias gave the order. Do it. Across the galaxy, the hidden human installations activated. Ancient satellites surrounded distant stars. Abandoned colonies opened underground hangars. Forgotten shipyards launched their final vessels. The human fleet wasn't attacking randomly. Every ship was transmitting the same command. Dawn Protocol. The architect weapon suddenly changed direction. Its enormous rings rotated toward its own fleet. The architects panicked. Their ships tried to disconnect. They couldn't. The human network had locked them in. Elias watched as the stolen technology finally turned against its creators. But the architects had one final advantage. Their supreme command vessel emerged from the artificial planet. It was larger than the Aegis. Its hull was covered with technology stolen from hundreds of civilizations. A voice filled the battlefield. You believe numbers will defeat us? The supreme architect commander appeared. You are still the same primitive species that surrendered centuries ago. Elias looked at the millions of human ships surrounding the planet. Then he smiled. No. He opened a galaxy-wide transmission. For 300 years, you thought humanity was hiding because we were afraid. The human fleet began moving into formation. We were hiding because we were waiting. The architect commander laughed. Waiting for what? Elias answered. For the galaxy to stop fighting each other. Suddenly, alien fleets appeared behind the human armada. Varkon survivors. Former enemies. Independent worlds. Civilizations that had once feared humanity. They had heard the truth. And they had chosen a side. The battlefield transformed into something the architects had never witnessed. Human and alien ships fighting together. The architects unleashed everything. Stars exploded. Planetary shields collapsed. Thousands of ships disappeared in flashes of light. The Aegis pushed deeper into the weapon's core. Its hull integrity dropped below 10%. Elias looked at the final control panel. One button remained. Project Dawn, total activation. The AI spoke quietly. Commander, activating this will destroy the Architect network. Elias looked at Earth on the distant display. And the Aegis? Silence. Then. I will not survive. Elias placed his hand on the control. You were built to protect humanity. He smiled. Now let humanity protect the galaxy. He pressed the button. The weapon began collapsing. Every Architect ship went dark. Then a blinding wave exploded across the galaxy. And somewhere inside the darkness, the Aegis sent one final transmission. Humanity is awake. For 3 seconds, the galaxy went completely silent. No weapons fired. No engines moved. No signals crossed the darkness. The Architect fleet simply stopped. Millions of warships hung motionless around their dying homeworld, their weapons powerless. Then the first explosion appeared. A blue-white shockwave erupted from the planet's core and raced through the surrounding fleet. One ship vanished. Then another. Then thousands. The Architect network was collapsing. Across the battlefield, alien commanders watched their command systems disappear one after another. For the first time in thousands of years, the Architects had lost control. But Elias Ward wasn't watching the destruction. He was staring at the empty space where Eternity's Aegis had disappeared. Status? No answer. He tried again. Aegis, respond. Static. Nothing. Elias closed his eyes. The ancient warship had survived 3 centuries in darkness, awakened to defend Earth, crossed an impossible battlefield, and entered the heart of the enemy's ultimate weapon. And now it was gone. Then a weak transmission reached his console. Commander Ward. Elias opened his eyes. The voice was barely audible. Aegis. Hull integrity, 4%. Elias laughed in disbelief. You're alive. A pause. Technically. Across the galaxy, the remaining human fleet began withdrawing. The Architects were finished. Their control network was destroyed. Their secrets had been exposed to every civilization. Then something unexpected happened. The Varkon commander, Kale Vorn, opened a galaxy-wide transmission. He appeared without his military armor. He looked exhausted. We came to Earth believing humanity was weak, he said. His eyes lowered. We were wrong. One by one, other alien leaders joined the transmission. Former enemies. Former conquerors. Former victims of the Architects. They all acknowledged the same truth. Humanity had not conquered the galaxy. It had united it. Weeks later, Earth began rebuilding. The skies were no longer filled with enemy warships. Children returned to schools. Cities restored their lights. And beneath New Geneva, engineers carefully repaired the ancient chamber. At its center rested Eternity's Aegis. Its hull was damaged beyond anything modern technology could easily repair. Elias walked toward it. You know, he said, most people would call you a relic. The AI replied. Most people are incorrect. Elias smiled. Are you ready to sleep again? The ship remained silent. Then its lights slowly illuminated. For now. Elias turned toward the exit. Why only for now? The Aegis answered. Because there will always be someone foolish enough to believe humanity is helpless. Years passed. The galaxy changed. Humanity became known not as the strongest civilization, but as the civilization that had ended the age of endless galactic wars. And among alien worlds, one warning became legendary. Whenever someone asked why nobody should ever attack Earth, the older civilizations gave the same answer. Because you might wake the wrong warship. But the truth was even simpler. Humanity's greatest weapon had never been Eternity's Aegis. It was the courage to remain peaceful without becoming powerless. The patience to hide without surrendering. And the wisdom to use overwhelming strength only when there was no other choice. The galaxy finally understood what the aliens had learned too late. Silence does not mean weakness. Sometimes, silence means humanity is still deciding whether you deserve to survive the mistake you are about to make.